So another thing about trust is it's a two-way street, Priyanka.
Yeah, but it also, while they attach happiness to external validation or to money or to a job title, what people don't realize is it's not going to last you. You feel happy for a day or 2 days or a week that I've got a new title, but then after that, again, it becomes part of you, and happiness is out of the window anyway.
If you're chasing a title, the less impactful your contribution is going to be.
Communication and over communicating, I think, always helps. Not really a responsibility. We just use all of these things as an excuse and say that we don't have the time. But if you're really passionate and if that's your Ikigai, I think you will find the time.
At Kotak Life, we have a motto of #wool. We own our learning.
Oh, awesome.
You have to be curious and comfortable with ambiguity.
I think listening is another skill.
Yes.
Leaders really need to learn.
Oh, yes. Listening to others, listening their own voices is what they love.
That's a good one. Hi, welcome to Unplugged with Priyanka. I have today with me my guest, Ruchira Bhardwaja. She's the Joint President and CHRO of Kotak Life. I've known Ruchira for nearly 2 decades now. And let me tell you, we have a lot in common. Ruchira, of course, we have a common alma mater. We've both been with NMIMS, and we have 2 organizations we work together, which is common, which is the Taj Group of Hotels and Chroma, right? And it's been an enjoyable 2 stints that I've had. Chroma, of course, we worked very closely, and I do recall the fun we had at that time.
Totally.
So, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And I also want to talk about another one, which is very common to us. We both believe in the concept of Ikigai, right? I just was reading this again. I have it right here. And I was just glancing through once again, and you can read it as many times as you like, right? And I know you've talked about it in one of your articles. I just want to know from you, when you talk about Ikigai, how do you think we can incorporate Ikigai or a sense of purpose in organizations today where employees feel connected, and what is the role leadership can play in that?
Firstly, thank you, Priyanka. Thank you so much for inviting me to your podcast. It's an honor. You must tell your audiences that you were my boss in Chroma. And thanks for that opportunity, Priyanka. I think Ikigai is very fascinating. What you love, what somebody wants from you, and what you get paid for. And I think it's also very personal, right? Exactly what you would want to do. And the thing that is here is nobody can give you Ikigai. So organization cannot give you the Ikigai. You have to find it yourself. But what the organization needs to do, and your bosses, your managers, they need to do is create that space, right? And I find it very paradoxical. The leader has to create that space for you, and the leader has to step back for you to find your Ikigai. And that's the best thing. It has happened to me, and I'm sure somewhere in your career also it would have happened to you, where the organization has provided that space, the ecosystem where you thrive, where you know what you can do, what you love to do, and you thrive doing that, or even something which is outside of your work, you pursue that, and the organization is fine with it, right?
Yes.
And creates that space. So I think it's something which is a very synergistic approach that the organization needs to take, and the employees, the people also need to appreciate that it's up to them to make it happen.
That's true. Very true. So if there are 3 things or 3 steps or 4 steps, you can tell the audience as to how to find their Ikigai. Is there a mantra that you follow to find yours?
Yes, I think find the right boss. No, I'm joking. It's about, but having a discussion with your manager, with your officer, saying that this is something that I want to do. And I have seen people coming up to me or going up to their managers saying, this is the space that I want to spend on, say, wanting to play cricket for the organization's cricket team, right? And this is the time that I want to go for the practice. Would it be okay if I finish my work before that, or I do my practices, I play my matches, and come back and finish my work.
Right.
Are you okay?
Right.
And the organization just needs to acknowledge that and say,
Yeah.
okay, go ahead and do it. So that's the first thing, that approaching, saying this is something that I love.
And having that discussion,
Yes,
saying that
yes,
at
yes.
least talk about it.
Absolutely. And I think the second thing is the manager. The manager needs to really take it easy.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, "Arey, kaam nahi ho raha hai. Where are you? Why you have not come? This is something that you are not spending time with." So that trust factor that manager needs to build is very, very essential. But the third thing, I think it's most important, especially in the company, that both come to a contract saying, this is the work that needs to be done within this timeline, whatsoever that I'm wanting to do within that space, that doesn't get compromised.
Right.
So that's important.
So it's about measuring outcomes, I guess.
Also,
just work with outcomes, give the flexibility to people, and let them look for their purpose.
Absolutely. Yes. Priyanka, so one more thing I wanted to add on the Ikigai. I think the manager, the leader has to sow that seed of passion, because sometimes the employee also may not realize what is that the person is good at or would be good at, or could really flourish. Manager has to spot it, leaders have to spot it, and then step back again and let them take it forward.
That's interesting. So tell me, since we spoke about this flexibility, taking time off during work hours, and ultimately completing your work, so what is your view on the hybrid model? Do you follow that in your organization? It's been talked about that that's the future of work. So what is really your view on that?
Yes, so in Kotak Life, we do follow till now hybrid, and we have left it to the business heads, to the function heads, to the managers to decide exactly how they would want to play it out. So there are functions which say that all the 5 days, the working days, somebody needs to be at work, or certain grades and above, certain levels and above, that they need to be at work. Certain functions in HR, for example, we are absolutely fine saying, as long as the work gets done, it doesn't matter where the work is getting done from.
Right.
But if we want you in office on so many days, for example, I was telling you about the
Award
awards
function,
night. Yes, we needed those people absolutely to be 10 days saying you need to work here in the war room, right?
Yeah.
And what I've realized, people understand that.
Yeah.
That if you give them that space, they would not misutilize it.
Right.
Also, what we have done, Priyanka, which is very essential, is saying these are the outcomes, right? And if this is getting compromised because you are not able to dedicate getting that outcome delivered, if you're not working from, say, a space at
Right.
office, it's better that you come to office. So, but that's a very individual manager discussion that happens.
Are there any discussions amongst employees that that team is getting to work from home?
Yes.
I'm not getting.
Oh yes.
Yes, a lot of that must be happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where the leader comes into the place, saying this is essential, this is what you're supposed to do, taking care of them otherwise. And I've seen that getting, and the manager plays a key role.
I think explaining them the logic why.
Yes.
Why are you needed in the office versus, it's okay for that function to do it because whatever is the reason. I think explaining the why helps many times.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can we also then move to trust? Because, when you're in hybrid, you said that you have to trust the employee, right? How do you build trust in an organization?
Oh, wow, what a difficult question.
Yeah, because there are different types of manager, right? We know some trust, some don't, some are all the time policing. So how do you build that?
I don't think we have this magic wand to create trust amongst every relationship, whether manager to employee, within teams. I don't think I have found that magic wand or that magic potion to make it happen. But one thing I'm absolutely sure, Priyanka, which has worked, is having a contract between individuals saying this is what the deliverable is and this is the outcome. And if that is very nicely crafted at the beginning of the year or beginning of the quarter or for every project, it helps, so the transparency and that objectiveness, saying this is what. So when I say contract, it's not like a written
of
contract,
course.
but saying two individuals, right? Saying this is what is to be delivered, this is the timeline, this is what I expect from you. And the employee says, this is what I expect from you, and this is,
This is the support I need,
time that I would be able to spend and everything. So black and white, right?
Yeah.
Transparencies help. Building transparency helps. But is it being done everywhere?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
No, I always recall this, that, the organizations we worked with in Tata's, there the leaders actually started with trust, right? They started
Yes.
with trusting you, and then you had to, until you broke it, I think trust always existed. But
Yes.
these days, you need some formula to build that. But yeah, I mean, till then, we have to just have conversations and build transparency, I guess.
Absolutely. And one more thing, Priyanka, I've seen, if the manager and the leader is there step by step with the person, with the team, that always helps. Saying, "Acha, mujhe chhod ke khud ghar nahi chale gaye." You understand?
Yeah.
So if the person is also there with you during those tough times, during those late hours or whatever, you are also seeing your manager spending that much committed time. That also builds
That
trust.
works. Yeah,
Yes,
that works. It's not that you're just delegating and walking away.
Yeah. So another thing about trust is it's a two-way street, Priyanka. And I'm seeing that the entire responsibility of building trust is left onto the leaders, the managers. Employees are holding their managers and leaders saying, "Acha, they are responsible for it." But I think there's a lot of accountability that lies with the individuals also as to what do they bring to the table. So it's as I mentioned earlier, it has to be something which has to be done jointly.
Right.
It cannot be just one person's responsibility to build trust.
So the manager should not be on a back foot now most of the time. They have to come forward. They have to build that trust together along with the employee, and employees should also participate in that trust building, so to say, exercise.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for example, if the employee is thinking of saying, my manager should take me out for lunch, for example, take me out for dinner, or should appreciate something that I have done, what is holding the employee to also approach the manager saying, hey, have you had lunch? Would you join us? Let's go together. Or, I saw you giving this presentation and I took a couple of points away from it. Yeah. That also is such a give and take, such a mutually respectful environment that everybody is creating.
And then that will automatically build trust, right?
Yes.
So we're saying that trust is about relationships, right? But relationships nowadays, like you said, have become very transactional in the corporate world, right? It's everyone has become, about thinking about self-growth and self-titles, and everybody's chasing titles, professional titles. I'm the CXO, I'm a CHRO, I'm a CSO, Chief Sales Officer, and CMO, Chief Marketing Officer. So many titles going around, and with the titles, they attach their happiness as well. If you give them the title, they're happy. If you don't give it to them, they're not happy, right? So how do you sort of get people to realize or cultivate their self-worth, which is beyond these titles?
Oh, excellent question. And it's so paradoxical that if you're chasing a title, the less impactful your contribution is going to be. Because you're not looking at the role or the contribution that you bring to the table, but it's just one title. And I recently lost one of my team members because she was getting a head of HR somewhere, which was primarily a role which was, let me not get there. I know for sure the role here in Kotak Life for her is much more richer. But of course, she was chasing that title, right?
Yeah.
The other thing which happens in this case is your self-worth is limited to a designation, a grade, and it is not expanded to include you in it, right? So, for example, many times, Priyanka, we see a colleague gets promoted and you feel bad about it, right?
Instead of feeling happy for them.
Yes.
Yeah, and celebrating with them.
Yes, right? Because somewhere the designation has changed, the grade has changed, and you're somehow felt left out, saying, oh my God, am I really worthless here? And the organization is not appreciating my worth. Instead of that, if you bring the you in you, your curiosity, your learning, your contribution, you are you it's then more happier, I think.
Right,
It's
right.
you are really contributing at a much higher level, because वो गीता में कहते हैं ना, कर्म किए जाओ फल की कामना मत करो.
Yeah.
I'm not saying keep working and don't
Don't
look at
expect any,
expect anything, but I think if the self-worth is only defined by a designation, a
or an
grade,
outcome.
out like a money you earned, or a bonus that is being awarded to you, um, it puts a lot of undue pressure,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, but it also, while they attach happiness to external validation or to money or to a job title, what people don't realize is it's not going to last you. You feel happy for a day or 2 days or a week that I've got a new title, but then after that, again, it becomes work as usual, right? It becomes, the title becomes part of you, and happiness is out of the window anyway.
Yes.
So,
Sorry for interrupting, but I feel so passionate about it, Priyanka, and I do photography, right?
yes.
And some of the photography is done in pitch dark night, and then you look up, and sometimes the sky opens, and you see the Milky Way,
Right.
and then you see that Milky Way, and then you realize, my God, who are you?
Yeah.
Not even like a little speck.
Yeah.
Mr. Dahiya, Rajesh, used to give this example, and I love it. He used to say, if you go outside on the street and you are standing, and say a very junior person is standing next to you, and an auto rickshaw driver comes in, he doesn't know that you're a
CXO.
CXO, and he would take the person who he thinks is going the destination that
He wants to go
he
to.
wants to go to, right? And then that you realize that it's so and it happens, why?
Yeah.
Because you dedicate everything, especially men. I think they dedicate their entire being in the corporate world, and especially in the corporate world, they dedicate entire well-being onto job,
Right.
and the job defines them, and the definition comes from a job title.
Right.
One of the things I think people should do is find something else that they're passionate about
Yeah.
outside of work.
Yeah.
And then they will realize the world is so big
And so beautiful.
and so beautiful. And that title is not everything that one
Yeah.
should give importance to only.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't happen with women, I think, because women have so many other things to do.
Yeah.
Taking care of your, they are primarily
Their family, and there's
Yes.
relatives and friends, and everything else.
Finding out what to prepare, how to
Yeah.
put what to put on the table
Table,
for dinner,
yeah, yeah.
lunch. There's so many things that they are engrossed with.
Yes.
And hence this
They're not
doesn't
stuck to
pain them much.
titles.
Yeah, it doesn't.
They anyway, work with so many titles: mother, wife, something in the office, whatever your title is, and then you're a sister. Of course, men also have all those relationships, I'm sure. But I think we try to play a larger role in all the aspects of our lives and all the designations we get, I think, at various relationships that we hold, I think.
So true. So true. I'm nothing
Interesting.
against men.
Yeah, of course.
It's
None of us do.
Yes,
No.
but I think they'll be happy a lot if they
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah, I'm sure. So, since we're talking about women and we've come to that, what are some of the inclusion practices you have at Kotak? Is there something that we can learn from? I'm sure you're doing a lot for women. I remember you asking me for a quote last year. You were putting some book together for your women on 8th of March. So tell me about that, and what is the work you've done on inclusion?
So thank you, first of all, for your quote. The book has come out really well. I should have
sure.
carried it
No
to you
problem.
today. We had almost 50 women across the world
Wow.
who contributed to it. And that really inspired the women who are in Kotak Life to say, women from all walks of life. We had people from the hospitality industry. We had people who are in VOLACs, voluntary organizations, NGOs, corporate women, directors. It was amazing. So yeah, thanks for that, Priyanka. One of the things we realized it's extremely important for us is to have an outcome driven agenda onto this, just by doing programs, just by saying that we want the women to be up there along with the men. We realized that that will not cut the ice. So we said we wanted to also have men as allies with us,
Right.
but we wanted to do it in a way that it's very, very organic, and instead of being pushed down their throat,
Right.
right? So so everything we do, we said in this area, we say it's nomination based, and it's
Right.
self nomination or the manager nominates. And that gives the women also a lot of courage, a lot of confidence, saying, oh, my manager is also very, very invested in
In my
my
growth.
growth, right? And so they take special attention. The manager, and it could be a woman also, they also are extremely invested, saying, oh, I'm the one who wants her to thrive, to go
Right.
ahead, right? Another thing we have done is we're ensuring the projects that we do not have only the seniors or the SMEs. So we have something called a 40 under 40.
Okay.
And from there, we say these are the projects, these are the things that the organization is driving, the
Okay.
managing director is driving in the company. Which one are the ones that you would want to
Wow.
contribute?
That's
So
nice.
that's again an age inclusion that is
Yeah.
coming across.
Yeah.
I tell you, the youngsters, they come into these projects with so much of energy, so much of not just energy, and a very, very out of the box thinking. And plus, they are also people who are they're mostly
Yeah.
executioners. So they really understand what is working and what is the impediment that they need to dilute, right? In fact, the Kotak group did something amazing when Ashok joined. Ashok said, I do not want any consultant to work with me. We know what we know the best. So he selected some, I think, 48, 50 people across the group, and they have created the strategy for the
For
group, the
DI.
long term. Yes,
Wow.
the not just the DI,
Oh, the strategy
from the
of.
strategy of the
Oh,
group, and it is
okay.
such an inclusive process. And these are the people who are future leaders.
And they will be executing most of them.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
right? And it's their thought, their vision, which has been completely endorsed by the top management. It so works beautifully.
Excellent.
So it's all, as I said, it's not about somebody pushing down something your throat.
It's all co-created
Yes, and
together.
self-nominated. You're passionate about it.
Please
Let's
join. Yeah,
yes,
join the gang and
yes,
make it
yes,
happen.
absolutely.
Super. So, Ruchira, since we spoke about job titles and self-worth, I just wanted to know from you, how can people actually move away from these titles and cultivate that sense of self-worth in themselves?
So I'll give you example, Priyanka, from three people from my team.
Okay.
One plays cricket and is really passionate about it. The other two do coaching, but very different kinds of coaching. So
Okay.
one is a coach to many people. He also teaches at TISS. There's another one who's coaching, or rather counseling his friends to start some businesses, right?
Okay.
And I think that is something everybody should nurture. So the first one, Chintan, he finds time to play cricket. He has been blessed with a baby boy, so
Okay.
abhi to wo thoda busy ho gaya hai. But that's also a role that he's
Yeah.
enjoying, and that is he's spending some time. He's father of to Neve, and it's a joyful discussion that we
Yeah.
have. What I do is I find time to have those discussions with them once in a while, right? Sing a chat, and they also have these chats with
Wanting to come
their.
and share with you.
That is right, and
Yeah.
with the larger team, right?
Right.
And that's what self worth is. It's not
Yeah.
about just being saying, "Acha, this is my senior vice president, executive vice president is my whole and soul
Yeah.
identity."
And that's my self-worth at
That's
all.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Taking your family out for an amazing outing. So there is this colleague that I have. She every year she plans something for her entire group of parents,
Okay.
and some 8, 9 parents. So that's her self worth, saying I'm taking care of these 80-year-olds and making them feel happy about it. I'm taking care of their health, see that they enjoy life. That's again a self-worth. You can find self-worth in
In many
so
ways.
many
Yeah.
ways.
So I
Yeah.
think what you're saying is if you're adding value to somebody else's life, that sort of improves your self worth as well.
Also,
You feel that, okay, I'm worthy of something, I've done something beyond work, I've added value to somebody else's life. I think that will really help create that self worth and cultivate that in yourself, that I am worthy.
yes, hobbies, Priyanka.
Yeah.
I so love that every weekend I'm out with my camera into the wild,
Mm.
breathing crisp air, and just waiting for that, perfect shot for that bird, and come back, do some editing, download it on my
Awesome.
phone, put it on Insta.
Yes.
It just rejuvenates me for my week ahead. Uh, I, I'm not thinking about work all the time.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes,
And that
absolutely.
also keeps you sane.
You're looking forward to something else on the weekend,
Yes,
or whenever you have that time, you find that time. So yeah, I think it'll be great for our audience to follow you on Instagram
of
and on your
course.
page. Please tell us what is your name on Instagram that we could follow.
It's very long, and the youngsters tell me that it's kind of very me. So it's Ruchira underscore photography underscore world.
Okay.
I'm sure your audiences must be cribbing, say, I know, cringing,
That they
saying,
have to remember this
"Itna
long name.
lamba, huh?" So, and it's primarily my
No, there's some beautiful photographs. I saw that, and I think people who are into wildlife photography would love to follow you on that.
otherwise also. I'm kind of a person who wants everybody to step out and
Yeah.
enjoy the nature.
Yeah.
And I also understand that people have so many other responsibilities, young
Yeah.
with young children and everything. So yesterday I was talking to somebody, he said, "Bacche ko bhi le jao. Instead
Correct.
of going to a mall, le jao na."
Exactly.
Yes.
Because
So
I feel all of that is more of an excuse. It's not
yes.
really a responsibility. We just use all of these things as an excuse
Yeah.
and say that we don't have the time. But if you're really passionate and if that's your Ikigai, I think you will find the time.
Yes. Absolutely.
So, Ruchira, I know you believe that diversity, or a diverse workforce brings non-linearity, and it sort of prevents groupthink, right? So, what is your view on this? I want to dive deep in this and understand what you really mean by that.
So I totally believe in diversity. It's important to have that into your teams for simple thing, because then you are able to solve complex problems much more
Right.
easily, because there are various thoughts, non-linear thoughts that come from a diverse thinking. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it would be no fun. But I think what we need to watch out for in this, that too much of diversity without a common purpose will lead to chaos. So that is the first thing that needs to be established, saying diversity of thoughts, diversity of intentions is good so long as there is a unifying purpose in the middle of it. Yesterday we had the
Awards
opportunity
night.
to
Yeah.
have, yes. So Harsha Bhogle was there.
Oh,
So this book by Priyanka, by Anita Bhogle, which is equal yet different, and she talks beautifully about that women want to be treated as an equal, yet differently.
right.
They want the world to acknowledge that we are differently built, right? But we are equal. And
Right.
that acknowledgement itself is so, so important to build a diverse thinking. So, not just for women, everyone else, right? So, when you're bringing people in with diverse thoughts, also understand that they want to be treated equally.
Yeah.
Age, gender,
Right.
creed, whatever it is, you
Yes.
want them to be treated equally. Their thoughts, even if it's minuscule thought, give importance to that thought,
Right.
that wisdom that they bring to the table. But understand that they're different. Yeah.
You've spoken about, organizations, the hierarchical organizations now shifting towards a more collaborative model of working. So, have you gone through any of these transitions? You've worked with organizations. I'm sure you've gone through these large transitions when they've moved from one structure to another. Can you talk about that experience and tell us what are your learnings from that?
Absolutely, Priyanka. And I think I've been fortunate to have a couple of those experiences, and I'm very proud of those the work that we could collaboratively do.
Okay.
Uh, So the blueberry pancake is what? It's about relinquishing control. And
Okay.
the leaders have to understand that relinquishing control is one of the key elements when you want the organization to thrive.
Right.
And what happens is then whatever thoughts that are coming your way, you are able to build that, include that in the organically as it develops, and
Right.
keep the pancake very tasty and
Mm.
quite yummy. So both the organizations in Axis, I remember there was a leadership change, and
Mm-hmm.
then subsequently in Future Generali also there was a leadership change. And in fact, I joined when the leader was changed, and he
Okay.
was looking for to build a team
A team. Yeah.
under him and take the organization pivot to absolutely a different set of deliverables. And both the places, trust plays an important role.
Yeah.
Leaders let go of their own egos, leaders let go of their uh, agenda which they had brought in, and made the organizational purpose as the center stage,
Right.
as the core.
Mm.
And what happens during that is everyone else also understands that you're part of building something different
Larger.
and larger and something very meaningful.
Right.
And when that happens, when you're hiring also, I remember I used to tell people that this is not going to be a 9 to 5 job.
Mm.
It is where you have to roll up your sleeves. You should be ready to get your hands dirty, and you know that it's going to be sheer hard work.
Mm.
If you are ready, then only you join.
Right.
Otherwise, this is not the right place. So, even during attracting talent and onboarding them, we wanted to be extremely transparent, and that I think is the bedrock of making something like this happen.
Yeah.
Um, and understanding the impact that you're creating, because you are not holding your past experience, because you have done greater things in
Mm.
past earlier organizations. It cannot be a cut paste model,
Right.
because this is something new that is getting created.
Right.
Have I answered your
Yeah,
question?
but I just want to go a little further and deep dive into what are the challenges that happen at that time. One is, of course, you have to build trust and find a common purpose. But when you're going through the transition, there are still challenges. There's a lot of uncertainty in people's mind. They don't know what's going to happen. All sorts of challenges. So, what are some of those challenges? How did you overcome those challenges in those transition periods?
See, one of the basic challenge and the most, I would say, difficult challenge is the people who are already there and they have brought the organization to that level.
Right.
They start saying that, "Abhi to, we have got what it takes,
Right.
and who are you to tell us that what we did was
Was wrong.
wrong,
Yeah.
yeah, or was not enough, right?"
Right.
And I think that's a very intimate discussion that needs to happen.
Yeah.
And it has to happen at the core of the discussion. At the core of the discussion has to be, what is the belief system each one of the individuals has?
Carry. Yeah.
Intrinsic beliefs, and because that is what will drive the change. That's what we did in both the
Right.
organizations, saying bring people together to have very intimate, in a very intimate surrounding, having those discussions, getting to know each other first. Before we embark on that journey, it's important to understand, where is that person coming
Coming
from?
from.
How does that person thinks? How does that person think? What is that the person want to contribute? How they would want to contribute? What are the
Also,
challenge? Yes,
also, what is their strength really?
yes.
Understanding what areas you need to utilize them in and let them bring that strength to the table.
Yes, absolutely. It's like a cricketing field, right? When you want to give a bowler the last ball to bowl,
Correct.
when you know you might be at the brink of losing that
Yes.
particular match. But look at the captain. The
Yeah.
captain knows that this is what the
Who's
person
the right
brings.
one?
Yes,
Who
yes,
should be putting out that
yes,
last ball? Yeah.
absolutely. So
Yeah.
that is very, very
Yeah,
important.
so I think another one which is very important, which I've seen in my experience through transitions and organizations, is I think communication.
Totally.
Keeping people informed about what's going to happen next, what can they expect. I think communication and over communicating, I think always helps. And I'm sure you've done quite a bit of that in
There's
this time.
nothing like over communication. Communication cannot be enough.
Yes.
And in fact, one of the leaders that I worked with used to say that, Ruchira, these are the three important things that you need to do. Yes, what? Communicate, communicate, communicate.
Yes.
That's the mantra. You
Yes.
can't ever over communicate.
It's never enough. Yeah.
It's never enough.
They always want to know more, and
Yes.
it's better. And that sort of, I think, builds transparency as well, right? If you're communicating and telling them what's going on, instead of keeping in the dark, it will just help build transparency, lead to trust, and lead to, the better version of the organization that any organization is trying to create.
And keep it simple.
Yeah.
If you want to over jargonize it, want to overthink about it, simple and consistent.
Right.
So the same thing being told. I must share something with you very interesting. Many years ago, I visited as part of one of the. In fact, I think I was in the Tatas, or I don't remember. So there was this tour that was conducted where some 20 of us were taken through certain other organizations outside of the group. And I visited one Volkswagen plant.
I think it's those best practices
So must
sharing.
be Tatas,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yes. So I visited this Volkswagen plant, and the plant had these A4 size papers,
Okay.
Priyanka, simple, absolutely white papers with two words written, only two words throughout the length and the breadth of the plant, scratch proof.
Okay.
Can you
Interesting.
imagine such
Yeah.
powerful, simple communication? Every person on that shop floor knows
Understood.
whether they are tightening a bolt or whatever they are doing in
It
that
has to
entire
be
assembly
scratch-proof.
line. That's the motto. That's the deliverable. Scratch proof. Scratch proof. I was bowled over by that. The
Yes.
simplicity of the message, the communication. That's important, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Excellent.
And the third thing, it has to be two-way.
Right.
If you more and more you keep it top
One way,
down,
yeah.
yes, and only one person talking about everything, do not give chance to people to voice their opinions,
Right.
voice their thoughts, voice the dissent. It doesn't work. It has to be two-way.
Yeah. I think listening is another skill
Yes.
leaders really need to learn.
Oh, yes.
It's
Listening to others, listening their own voices is what they love.
That's a good one.
That's what we all love,
Yeah,
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 keep
yeah.
talking and saying, "Acha, hum hi ko pata hai sab kuch."
So, Ruchira, as HR professionals, you and me both know that we are expected normally to guide cultural transformation in organizations. Whenever there's a change or there is a culture that is existing which needs to be changed. So, we are expected to be that guiding light. So, what is that message you would want to give HR leaders who are trying to champion change or transformations or cultural transformations in their organizations? What is it the message that you'll give them on how to navigate this?
Beautiful question, Priyanka. It reminds me of a quote by Muhammad Ali, the great Muhammad Ali, and I've lived by that
Okay.
motto for now almost 8-10 years. Let me read it out to you.
Okay.
It says, it's the repetition of affirmations
Okay.
that leads to belief. And once that belief becomes a conviction, a deep conviction, things begin to happen.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
Yes. And I think HR leaders need to have this deep conviction themselves first, saying that this is what is necessary and this is what will bring in a very flourishing, healthy, enabling culture into the organization. But you have to be at it.
Right.
You can't move from one program to another program to the third program. You need to have a very cohesive plan, yes. And you have to be at it.
Yes.
And you have to understand that not just you have to be at it, but your team also needs to have that deep conviction.
Right.
And once their conviction, your HR team's conviction, converts into a belief, magic really happens. And I've seen that happening, Priyanka, where you have to be at the forefront to
Yes.
to keep doing it. once they see, "Arey, ye to, it's not just being talked about, but this is possible." It can be as simple as saying, I'll give you example of an e-code getting generated the same day.
Right.
Now, many organizations, the e-code, and most of the organizations, at least I have joined, e-code is hoga, jab hoga. But can you imagine if your not employee code is not getting generated, the business code doesn't get generated,
Correct.
and there's so much of productivity loss.
Yes, you can't log into half the systems because you don't have any code.
Yes, yes. So you are really contributing to the loss to the organization.
Right.
And it can be done, but you will get lots of stories around it saying, "Oh,
Why it can't be done."
Right, and this is, but and that's the smallest of thing. And I've realized everywhere, when the team, your own HR team, says that e-code which can never be generated within 7 days or sometimes whatever. The moment that happens, they say, "Arey, ye bhi ho sakta hai, to sab kuch ho sakta hai."
Right.
So that that conviction, and you have to be at it.
Right.
You have to measure it. You have to see that it
Yeah,
gets
I agree.
captured.
I think cultural transformation anyway takes time and it has to be repeated continuously. Like, I always talk about it in my organizations that culture or values, HR has this habit of, there are written values in the organization and they make it like a poster on the wall. It can't be a poster on the wall. It will not drive down in the organization if you keep it that way. Like you said, you have to really be at it, repeat it in every organization conversations, drive it through all your HR processes, whether it's your R&R, are you actually recognizing values that you've put as a poster? Are you evaluating it during your performance appraisals?
Yes.
Are you evaluating it during your confirmation? So it has to get integrated, I think, across all your HR processes. And only then will it become a way of life in the organization. And then that's
Absolutely.
what the culture is, right? It's
Yes.
a way you do things. And that's what it is. And yeah, I think that's the basic message to all HRs.
Yes.
That you have to be continuously at it.
And the second thing, I think we take everything very personally.
Right.
We think that the world revolves around us.
Right.
If I send a mail, things should change.
Right.
People should start behaving from the next day. It's because what? I'm the HR head.
So I've sent the mail.
You send the mail, you better behave.
Yeah.
The world doesn't revolve around us.
Yeah.
We need to understand that and we need not take it personally.
Right.
Because everyone else has their day job, right? Everyone else has their deliverables. Yes, managing people should be at the core of it, right? And if they are not doing, somebody is not doing it in a way that is desired, you can't just get it done by sending a mail or putting a poster, right?
Exactly.
I so agree with you.
Yeah.
So that's the second thing. The third thing I think is equally important is you have to really partner with the businesses, your stakeholders.
Right.
We do not understand the business and we want everything to be such a copy-paste thing. In one organization, I did one performance management program. Let me copy-paste it.
Right.
Doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't. Every organization has its own context.
Yes.
It has its own business model. And I agree. I mean, that's what I've given as advice to all my team members, that first understand where the organization is making money. Do you even know how the organization is making money? Only once you understand that, will all the processes you put in place make sense? If you're putting an incentive scheme which does not relate to your business, it's not going to work, right? So quite agree with you on that.
Yeah.
So Ruchira, I want to talk about the favorite topic of all HRs these days is employee well-being, right? Mental health, it's the topic that is spoken about, right? So, building a culture of employee well-being is crucial. It's also crucial to the success of the organization. There's no denying that. But what do you think? How can we foster this environment which allows them to create a boundary and keep their mental space and well-being, centered?
Priyanka, you're right. This is absolutely at the middle of every conversation, right? Be it HR or non-HR. Let me talk about something which has been in my mind lately and see if that resonates with you, Priyanka. And let me take it at two levels.
Okay.
One, for people at large, all
Right.
employees, and one, of course, at the leaders
Leadership
level.
level.
Yeah,
Okay.
leadership level. So I've seen this dichotomy which is existing in people's mind. They want boundaries. Everyone wants boundaries. I
Right.
also want my boundary. When I'm going for my jungle trips on a weekend, I want my space,
Yeah.
right? And my manager, my boss, absolutely understands it, right?
Right.
He understands it because he knows that Ruchira will deliver what is to be delivered from on the days that she's there
Required to do
at
that.
required
Yes.
at work,
Yeah.
right? Is there at work, and it will get done on time. So everyone has boundaries and they want to stick to it and they want their managers to appreciate that.
Right.
On the other hand, and the manager respects that boundary, saying, oh, this is the person who may not sit late
Okay.
or may not want to get stretched for a particular assignment, but there is a person B who might be able to give more time. For this project, I would let me take person B.
B. Okay.
Because the person is for that project or for that work on those days
Available.
available, or is really the person who's going to deliver that. Is the
Right.
SME or the person is required. But the person A then gets FOMO
Right.
and is feeling left out.
Right.
And I think that creates a lot of anxiety into people's mind.
Right.
So, in my mind, people at large need to really understand and be self aware that this is the boundary and this is what I'm contributing, but I need not get too much anxious about if somebody is doing extra shifts, extra
Yeah.
work,
Yeah.
extra contribution, because everybody brings their own best self to work.
Right. Right.
That is something, it's a very individual thing.
Yes.
Does it make sense
Absolutely.
to you?
Absolutely. I know of an example recently, and I won't take any names, but the person has defined some boundaries and talked about having time off for when he wants to do that. But at the same time, when he was not involved in a certain project, actually sent a WhatsApp saying that I'm feeling FOMO, right? So you can't have a fear that I'm going to miss out and at the same time have boundaries. You need to realize when you can stretch, when you need the boundary, and choose projects accordingly. And then be satisfied with that instead of creating that whole stress in your mind that, oh, I didn't get an interesting project. So, yes, I completely resonate with what you're saying.
So that's part one.
Yeah.
Part two is at the leadership level.
Right.
And have you heard about, did you read this post by Nisaba Godrej?
No, I
Oh,
haven't.
it's amazing.
Okay.
She has put it up front there, out in the public, that about her vulnerability
Okay.
and how she approached certain coaches to make her a better human being or a better leader. I was bowled over by her courage to put it out there,
Right.
in front of everyone. I think this vulnerability, when people see in their leaders, this
Right.
acknowledgement of self doubts or the moments that they faced something
Right.
and they reached out for help, it's amazing. Today, what happens is individuals do not reach out for help, right?
Yeah.
Because they think that somebody might think that they are weak.
They
or
don't know what
they
needs to be
don't
done.
know, yes, and it will be held against them.
Yeah.
I think people need not worry. It needs to be one for all and all for one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think things like that, when they happen, when leaders show that vulnerability, is when it will create a safe space, isn't
Absolutely.
it? So
Yes.
and give people that stress-free mental space that I can go to my leaders or whoever you need to go to for help. Reach out, and help is right there available.
Yeah. Absolutely. Reach out.
Yeah. Okay, so you just spoke about coaching, right? And earlier times we've seen and heard our leaders where it was actually looked upon as a taboo. People didn't want to be coached and they felt they were non-performers, and that's why they're being given a coach. But these days it's not so. People are curious; they want to continuously learn, and through learning, we actually even are able to keep our people engaged, right? And so, what would you say is really the future of learning, or what are the future skills people need to adopt to sort of succeed in their career ahead?
Priyanka, I think, and Uday Kotak says this is an era of never normal.
Okay.
So he says the era of never normal has started. So
Okay.
nothing is going to be normal. Everything is going to be unpredictable.
Okay.
So in this era of never normal and unpredictable era, I don't think there is any skill that can be taught in the classroom anymore.
Interesting.
So whether it is adaptability, it is about learning to learn again and again and again,
Right.
or storytelling. My favorite is storytelling. Why storytelling as a skill? Because to make sense out of complex purpose or complex situations, complex data, complex information, there's so much of
Complexities.
complexity and complicated things that are available to you. Storytelling is an amazing tool to make sense, make it
Right.
easy, make it.
Right.
We earlier also spoke about how do you propagate it, right?
Right.
Quite succinctly and
Yeah.
simply. So storytelling, I think, is one area, but it cannot be taught in a classroom. It has to be
Right.
practiced. It has to be, you have to hear great storytellers. And mostly I've seen leaders across, the who's who.
Right.
If you hear anyone, whether it's Steve Jobs, whether it's now
Right.
Tim Cook, in India, Ratan Tata.
Yes, of
Remember, he used
course.
to come for
Oh
the
my
tabby
God.
function and the
Yes.
stories he would narrate from that
Absolutely.
stage.
Yes.
The stories are so powerful, right? So
Yes.
that's one. The second, I think, is this urge that we need to create in people's mind and heart to keep learning.
Right.
Having the how would I put it? A skill to learn again and again.
Right.
So that anything that comes in this ambiguous world to you, you know that you have to make time to and take out time to,
Learn.
yes,
Yes.
do something about it. And see, learning has become very democratic.
Yes.
It's out there.
It's available 24/7. Yeah.
Absolutely, you do not need to get into a classroom, and most
Absolutely.
of the time it is freely available to you.
Yes.
For me, Twitter is a great, or now X is a
Yes.
great source of learning. The who's who is talking about what not.
Yes.
Whether,
Commenting on and giving their views, which is what you
yes,
learn from. Yes.
LinkedIn, or so many, Quora. So it has become so democratic. But you need to build that skill in you to learn.
Yeah. And also make the time to learn.
That is right.
Yes.
That is
That
right.
interest has to be with yourself. You have to take responsibility for your own learning and not wait for the organization to teach you. I think that's another one which I've repeatedly told people, that why are you waiting to be nominated for a training program? One is you can put your hand up and ask that why don't you send me? And two is just pay for yourself and go. It's your own learning. It's going to be with you for your life. And why don't you take interest in your own learning? So I agree with you quite a lot that learn and continuously learning is important.
So at Kotak Life, we have a motto of #wool.
Okay.
WOOL.
Okay.
We own our learning.
Oh, awesome.
We keep talking about
Beautiful.
it, and it's not coined by us. It was coined by a young girl whom I worked with in my previous organization.
Okay.
She used to talk about saying we should have concept of wool in this world,
Excellent.
and she spoke about it before. It's pre-COVID times.
Okay.
Post-COVID, of course, it has become even more pronounced, right?
Right.
So that's the second thing that is important. I completely resonate with you, Priyanka, that one needs to understand, instead of giving the responsibility and the accountability to the organization, to the manager, saying, oh, you are responsible for my. And my favorite pet peeve is when I meet people, when we are wanting to attract talent to join our organization, they say, oh, my learning stopped, and that's why, for better learning, I want to join you. And I do fall off my chair even now,
Yes.
saying, ऐसा कैसे हो सकता है?
Who stopped your learning?
Correct. And who said that you
Yes.
have learned everything? Come
Yes.
on.
Yes.
3 years you have learned everything about that company.
Exactly.
Wow. I mean, that's amazing. So that's the second thing. So the third thing, and this is for the L&D teams,
Okay.
they need to create programs and teach people to be teach programs on ambiguity comfort.
Okay. What is that? I'm interested.
You have to be curious and
Okay.
comfortable with ambiguity.
Right.
So because never
You're not going.
normal era, right? As Uday
Right.
says.
Right.
So in the never normal era, nothing is going to come to you on a platter.
Right.
So if things change, and not just for managers, for leaders, but also for employees, they need to be comfortable enough to see the shifts. I'll give you an
Right.
example. Uh, Products being sold in the life insurance industry, we know it has its own life cycle, right?
Right.
And the life cycle is truncating day by day. So
Right.
earlier, a couple of products you can sell for 2 years and you would be comfortable. But now, as in every space of your life, right? Every phase of your life, you need a different cuisine. You
Right.
need boyfriend, girlfriends, different friends every day,
Right.
partners. You
Right.
the frequencies is
Changing.
reducing, changing, increasing rather. So in that era, you need to be comfortable with saying if something new coming my way, I am able to shift my thought, my mind space, and the way I'm going to sell that product, new product, which is now the shift has happened, I should be comfortable with.
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, so it has been a great conversation, Ruchira, and this brings
Likewise.
me to the last section. I have something called quick shots. So
Okay.
it's like a rapid fire. You've seen Karan Johar, right, with his rapid fire.
Right.
So I call it quick shots, and I'll ask you questions, and you need to respond with whatever comes to your mind,
And no
right?
fire.
No fire,
All
but it'll
right.
be great. Okay, so I'll shoot the questions. Are you ready?
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Go
Okay,
ahead,
yes,
please.
okay. So I'll make it easy. Name one leader that inspires you,
Can I name two?
please.
Ratan Tata
Okay,
for his vision and his balance, balancing
right,
everything. And Uday being so approachable, and I think he's Uday Kotak.
right.
Uh, and just being there, just listening to every valuable thoughts. I
Okay,
really admire that.
great. A must read book.
Oh, that's easy. The Fountainhead by Anne Rand.
Okay,
It's so much about courage. It's so much about individuality and integrity. I think all the three are very, very dear to me. And it actually shaped a lot of my thoughts as a person. So
excellent.
yeah,
And a favorite quote?
Muhammad Ali
Muhammad
quote.
Ali one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that one. It's
okay.
about when deep conviction leads to things really begin.
Begin to happen.
Yeah, things begin to happen. Yes.
Right, right. And okay, another one is what does happiness mean to you at workplace?
Leaving a legacy behind.
Lovely.
Yeah, a team which is a superpower which doesn't need me. I think
Right.
that's happiness. Yes.
Lovely. And what does happiness mean to you personally?
A choti khushi.
Okay.
So finding happiness in the smallest of things,
Lovely.
like chidiya ki awaaz, this plant, this
Right.
conversation, a pen I pick up, or in the morning I have an almond which is like, oh, happiness. Arey wah,
Right.
kitna acha hai.
Right.
Choti choti khushi.
Excellent. So thank you for being here on the show with me,
Thank
Unplug
you.
with Priyanka. I have Ruchira with me, and if you've liked our conversation, please hit the subscribe button and leave us your comments below.